Hello and welcome to this supplemental select board meeting for Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. The board is here minus Mark. We have the town manager, members of the town government, and what is your exact title?
Lisa,
What?
Finance Director.
The town finance director. Terrific. Can we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First, we are going to have public comment. Please step up to the microphone, state your name and your address for the record.
All right, esteemed colleagues of the Berwick Select Board, my name is Phil Roy. I reside at 260 Route 236 here in Berwick, and I currently serve as Vice Chair on the Town Planning Board. I'm here today to talk about perceptions. Last week, the Planning Board heard public comment regarding our revisions to the land use ordinance for the town. Comments from the general public revealed that the latest revision lacked performance standards for gas stations. There were also concerns about environmental, traffic, and crime impacts associated with such a project. In that same meeting, the Planning Board felt pressured to approve a draft land use ordinance in order to get it before you for approval prior to the spring vote. I and other members of the board have been asked by citizens about a proposed gas station pending on Route 4. I currently have no knowledge of such a project, and I don't easily prescribe to speculation or the rumor mill, so I will not speculate. However, the volume and tone of the conversation in conjunction with the lot cleared on Route 4 seem to confirm the rumor. Perceptions are often reality, and I'm a firm believer that transparency breeds self-correcting behavior. I'm not suggesting that there's been any impropriety. However, the optics and timeline paint a compelling picture to the general public that we serve. We, the select and planning boards, have a duty to maintain public trust. I'm hopeful that we are doing our due diligence in executing our charter to the people of this town. Given that this vote for the land use ordinance has already been voted, I'm guessing that horse has already left the stable, and there's probably no pulling it back at this time. I'm here this evening to implore you, the select board, to consider, one, making amendments to the land use ordinance we have provided to you, to consider a joint meeting with planning and select board prior to approval and sending it out for vote. And if that is not within the realm of possibilities, I implore you to consider a temporary stay or moratorium on permits for new gas stations until such a time we can process the environmental, health, and safety impacts to our town and her people. Furthermore, I would like to suggest that in the future, we hold public hearings and a meeting prior to a planning board vote. This will give the board time to digest and research the impacts and validity of the comments provided by the general public. I sincerely thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to working alongside you and my fellow planning board members as we serve the people of Berwick. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Any other members of the public for public comment? Okay, I will close the first public comment. At this time, we are going to be doing budget reviews for various departments. And we are going to start with debt service.
No, debt service, we just had a little typo there. So it just covers the new sheet. It's a 8% decrease, as I mentioned in the last meeting. This is because each year of the bond, we pay a little bit less in interest. Something that I've learned in kind of the way that our warrant article can be written, I believe we could apply the full proceeds to offset the debt service even further. And I would propose we do that instead of the 160 to offset it, the full amount of the proceeds, and raise that from the undesignated fund balance. It would effectively offset pretty much 95% of the first bond and interest payment. That's something the board wanted to do. That would reduce the tax levy difference from the last fiscal year to basically zero. It's 0.006%. And if not, we're still around the 1.5%. So I just wanted to throw that out there and see if that's something we wanted to do or look into further.
What is currently in the undesignated fund?
About 400? 4 million, right?
Million.
4 million. About 4 million. 4 million. It's like
So if we were
4.5
to
million.
allocate 160 out of that, that wouldn't mess with the percentage that we would need to keep, right? So
Correct.
we have to, okay.
Correct. Yeah.
But the 160 that's already in there is the profit from the fire station
Correct.
anyway. So it's
Correct.
already-
So that's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't see why. It'd be nice to take one more loan off the books.
yeah.
Is there anything else on? Any questions on debt service?
I noticed there's not a bond here for $16 million for the schools. All right. Yeah, I have no questions. Anything else? All right. Let's move on to library. Are there library folks here? You want to come up and talk to us about the budget a little bit? Please, go right ahead.
I just want to say Sharon's really stepped up. She's volunteered to open up warming shelter on 2 occasions, and the work she's doing with Berwick for a lifetime. I mean, we were meeting here 4 or 5 years ago, talking about how to get things moving, and the Sand Bucket program and the senior get-togethers, and
Social seniors,
social seniors.
yeah, and then the food commodity box delivery service for folks that can't lift the boxes. They're over 30 pounds each, and they're monthly free food, federal government program, and they come into York or they come into Sanford, and so we have volunteers that will go up, pick them up, and deliver them right to seniors' doorsteps. So, and in some cases, right up into the house because they're heavy. So, we're trying to get some services for people to depend on. Let me help you. Do I have to say it again?
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
Thank you, Terry.
I have to say, I've been going to the library more because my kids are of an age where they go to the library, and now they're hosting Girl Scouts there, and it's beautiful. It always looks great. And a lot of programs for kids. From they do Lego builds and just all sorts of craft projects over the weeks and stuff like that. So it's definitely it's a great place. Good place for the community.
Thank you. I believe that's true. We've seen a huge increase since COVID, of course, took a gash in everybody's numbers. We never really dropped our numbers. We just moved them outside.
Yeah.
So we did curbside service right up until last year. I'm doing the state reports now, and I still have some curbside happening in this report. This will be the last year because we've discontinued that to just invite people to walk the few paces in, even if you're not feeling as comfortable to sit at a program. Most people are happy to just come in and say hi and socialize and all. So the numbers tell the story. In July 2020 to June 30th on 2021, our circulation numbers were 16,610. And last year they were 20,745. So you can see things are going exactly where they should be going. The visits to the library, we had over 16,485 people come through the doors last year. And that's not the 1,329 that chose to take their books outside the door. So I couldn't be happier with the numbers. The staff works hard, and they do a great job, and they know their job really well, and I love seeing the more kids, the better. We're not a quiet library.
Yeah.
No, I can attest to that when I walk in there.
Also on that
But it's
topic, there
awesome.
was like an animal presentation, something a couple months ago.
Sure.
Yeah, my wife wanted to go to it, and we drove by, and it was packed out the whole the
Yeah.
whole parking lot, down the road, parking, everything. So
Wildlife encounters.
yeah, it was a wildlife encounter thing, and yeah, so there's definitely a lot of interest in the library, and a lot of people using it as they should.
Is you talk about the increase in the number of people coming and everything. Is what do you see the need of increasing your hours?
We have room to do that. My problem would be with staff.
Right,
You know,
right,
I'm right just comfortable. Like, so for instance, I had a staff person take a trip. I had 2 people get sick, and 1 had surgery. So then I was like, all right, I'm working, 12-hour days, and so we're right on the edge of, keeping it all balanced nicely.
You're right
Usually
where you-
things
right-
like that
right-
doesn't
You're
happen.
stretched right to your limit right now. You're saying basically, with as far as staffing and your hours.
Basically,
So if
any
you-
increase in hours is going to lead to an increase in having to have more staff.
Staff.
I would want to have another part-time, at least, staff
Yeah.
person to cover that. But we do have Mondays, and then we have Thursday mornings, and I wanted to make sure we had that pillow to see how the full-time went. Because as you know, we've never been a full-time library
Right.
until, 2 years ago.
Right. Well, that was just a point I was trying to make. That if we were to increase the hours, we would need more staffing. So, maybe not this year, but something we need to look at. If the increase in the
Definitely is,
usage,
sure,
is,
we'd love it.
Well, the town loves it.
Yeah.
I won't say I haven't heard any complaints about the library, but I could probably count on one hand the number of complaints I have heard over the last several years. So everybody praises what you guys do there. So
Good. We work hard to bring people in.
To a question, I just want to reiterate too on the whole opening up for the warming center was really, really appreciated because it really is the centrally located thing, especially for seniors in that area. The only complaint I've ever heard is what Noah was just saying is that a couple of times some of the events, the parking is very limited.
We do have limited parking.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm
we'll
sure
have
the
to-
neighbors haven't been happy if it's been on the street. But
But that's a good sign in one
Yeah.
sense, yeah. Same thing, I noticed here, you made a mention in the beginning about you're coming out of COVID and you're seeing more activity and whatnot. Because what you asked for in the 2023 budget, you've used less than half of it on some of these items, and you're asking for a 0% increase. So do you anticipate, more activity in the coming year?
as much. I've always done planning, programming as much as I can get in the programming in the calendar. So every month we'll have 2 to 3 special programs in the evening. We have children's programming during the day, social seniors. Not all of them cost money.
Okay.
So there's a lot of programming happening, and I try and keep the budget for the big ticket items in the summer reading programs. A lot of the children's programming is expensive.
I can see that. And you went pretty close in 2022 to the allotted amount. The other thing, too, is you have nothing listed for heat for year-to-date.
I do.
For year to date,
I got right here as a blank spot.
yeah, there's a
Did
Yeah.
is it just because your propane delivery was in late December, right?
Is that right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay.
Because we were doing
I think we
these
talked
items.
about, we figured he was coming or something when we sat
Yeah.
down with the budget.
Right.
Okay.
So basically what you're looking at is a flat budget, but with a small increase for wages, which I imagine is more designated towards raising the wages of people that are already there.
Yes,
So it's more in line with inflation and making sure people are not losing money as they continue to work for us.
Is there anything on your budget that is a concern for you?
that I won't meet, is that,
That you're going to be too close, anything like that give you concern?
Linda, I look at it every single month, and I pray, and I'm pretty good at keeping under the budget,
I can
and
see that, yeah, the last couple of years you do a really good job.
yeah, it's a balancing act because again, we haven't ever been full time, so I think it's going to take a good 3 years to really figure out what
Averages are.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's also a few years, but also you also had 2 really weird years
Bad,
in there
yes.
where you can't really get, empirical data about because it's all messed up. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I keep a close eye on it.
Well, we are very supportive of the library. We're fans of it. So if there is issues that come up, please don't hesitate to
Thank you.
come in and talk to us in public comment or talk to James and get on the agenda and we can just have a discussion about something. Don't wait just until budget season comes around if there is something that you want to discuss.
Great.
So we can we can't promise anything, but we can at least talk about it and make sure that you're being heard and
Thank
and
you.
get to work on it. So, any other questions about the library budget?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have assessing and code and planning, all one department.
Start with the assessing. MRI, they do a fantastic job. We have someone in the office almost every day. Included in this budget is we're working on some GIS and mapping improvements, but we can use the budget that's already been in there. This also includes a statistical update to work on our certified ratio. Right now, we're in the 70 to 80% for valuations, which means folks are not getting the full homestead exemption. They're getting a proportion of it. And what updates do and changes to the valuations, we're not making more money. It's the distribution of the taxes. And right now, we're aware that some of the $400,000 or $500,000 houses are not being taxed at the level that, when we compare new sales to what we have them assessed at, there's just the gap's just off.
Yes, there is.
So, in this past year, we stopped from having, basically our planning department became contracted out. How's that been working out?
Good. It's definitely takes time. The planning board had some turnover, but to have Lee J as a stabilizing force and then Dave as the day-to-day admin assistant. It's the system I used when I was in the planning department. And we have coverage from both Lee J and Hannah at SMPDC.
And they're able to continue on a long-term basis for those things?
They've shuffled around some things. That's why we have 2 planners at SMPDC. I think for the long range, next year or 2, I think they've been providing planning services for decades. They are stretched. They're in 39 something communities.
Do you have plans on hiring an in-house planner or?
The challenge is very, very few planners in our state. It's very, very difficult to find a planner. I think next year could be a good possibility to come back here and ask for a director of planning. Which would,
So if the contracted services are out there and we don't have an internal planner, why is the training budget going up?
so that is for,
I mean, we only used, so far year to date, $89, and then it's going up $500, but
This is
we're
plan-
contracting out.
This is planning and code, so I don't know, did Irish ask for something additional?
So code's under the 200-09.
yep. So this would cover both Dave and Irish. So it'd be two full-time staff. I think they're expressed an interest in attending more trainings. It also covers trainings for Board of Appeals and Planning Board as well.
Okay.
In the MSA program. Is that new?
And the other thing is the postage went up. Is there something?
That is for, we switched to mailing both regular mail and certified mail. So for a public notice, the way I was taught, it was just a regular piece of mail, and then a public hearing can come around, and then you can get people from the public that say, well, I didn't get a notice.
Okay.
So that's, we send it regular mail and certified mail.
And this is
So
to
for any
like
of your public
abutters
hearings, for the
who
abut-
would be affected by the property.
Yep.
Okay.
That's for,
Okay.
yep, for,
It'd certainly be weird to have everybody in town get a certified letter.
Yeah.
yeah, that's just for, yep, 200 feet, 250 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're going from 80 cents to $4 envelope. Okay.
So overall, it's a decrease of 8.76%. From last year.
And most of that comes out of the full-time. Looks like full-time
Yep.
wages,
Health
Medicare,
insurance,
retirement.
Which all wages,
all the
yeah.
employment.
So if we hire an internal person, that would go back up.
We probably have to wait till the next fiscal year just because there wouldn't be enough to hire a director of, the director of planning now is demanding, anywhere from 70 to 95,000. We'd
Just
probably
like
be in the
superintendent
75.
shortage we're having in Maine too.
The shortage of everything.
Well, some things are more important than others. And when you have like 13 communities without superintendents, it's pretty big deficiency. Yeah. So who did you prepare the budget for planning, or did
I did.
Jay? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
So you said it was coding and planning. So did Irish have any contributions
Yes.
to this?
Yep.
I noticed you have two columns, department and manager's request.
That's both. That's information I put in, but I did talk with Irish.
Any other questions for planning, assessing, and code?
Yeah, the contracted services, that covers SMPDC an hourly rate. That covers their plan reviews. Their major support is during planning board meetings. And then they're also helping with comprehensive planning as well. Which we're about halfway done with the comprehensive plan.
Just in time to start a new one, right? All right. Unless there's any questions. All right. Moving along. The police department. Please take the chair. Thank you. Police department is number 6.
Chief, you keep sending the captain for a lot of work lately.
I know. I was gonna say, I was like, is Chief gonna walk in at any moment? Yeah.
He's not feeling well.
That's too bad.
Hasn't been for about a week.
Captain's not taking care of it.
So overall, not including removing the dispatch services, not including that, it's about a 6.31% increase. Most of that's it's wages with the MAP contract. And one lease is coming off this year. And there was a request for one additional full-time officer, which at this point I'm not recommending for the simple fact that our tax levy difference before fully offsetting the debt service was at 160. Adding a full-time officer would have doubled that to another 160. I think it is a good argument to consider for planning purposes, like we talked about the library with the edge and added population for something to put into planning. And you guys said you haven't added a full-time officer, and how long has been?
2016, but we've added like 2 in 33 years. So. And the increase is because of the edge and the increased activity and drug activity, of course, and traffic activity. Wherever we have a lot more of that coming through town. As I think you guys are well aware.
Captain, how many full-time officers do we have on staff right now?
We have 12, but we only have 2 part-timers. We're having a hard time finding part-timers who want to stay part-time. It's because if they're any good at all, they go someplace else.
That's what I mean.
We have 2 guys that want to be just part-time.
Okay.
So, once they leave, we're probably going to just have full-time staff. And a lot of departments, except the departments on the coast, are having to go that way because you just can't find people that want to do it. If you pick up somebody that actually wants to do full-time, once you train them, if we don't have a full-time position, they're going someplace else. So,
Yeah, I've heard that from a couple of the
yeah.
around.
Yeah.
So, you say you're looking to add one,
Yes.
so I'm gonna add one. A question about the training too. I mean, for 14, 15, 16, counting, admin, you've gone over the requested 18. You're well on your way to, breaking easy on the 18. So you didn't ask for an increase, and I'm a little concerned. It's going to be really close.
Well,
You're going to be bringing on a new officer, correct?
correct.
So that
I mean, a
training
lot of that
cost-
is to do with our accreditation. Like tomorrow night, every officer in the department's there for 4 hours. We're bringing in people to get accredited. I'd have to look at the chief's notes on the training, but we're actually sending some guys to training for mine and his departure at some point in 3 or 4 years, so we're sending them to courses which might be
Leadership
costing a little
courses,
bit more.
And I actually very supportive of that. My just concern is that you're going to add a full-time person.
Yep.
That person's going to need some additional training, depending on who you hire. Like you said, if it's somebody
I think
new, you
the-
got to send them to the academy.
I think the reason for the increase in that this year is we had that guy that went to the academy. I don't think normally you're going to see that because that's like a $5,000,
Right,
which we don't normally have.
right. So you didn't increase the training budget at all, but you
No.
anticipate hiring someone. What happens if it's someone brand new who's not certified?
Yeah, that's, we need that, but he said that we're not going to let at this point, but if we did, we'd need to increase that somewhat.
I'm not recommending it, but obviously if you want it in there, obviously we can. So with the department request, the added officer, the way that was added in at the very bottom. We can show what the budget would look like with the officer added in and what that would look like for full-time wages and
So
benefits.
that's not
It's
in
not,
this.
it's
No,
not on
right.
James's line, it's on the,
So
Right, it's
that
over here.
120, that 129 is the
And
additional.
Additional.
that's if we got a full-time, 5-year certified guy. He
That's
went
what
to
I'm
the
s-
extent.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying,
that.
so it doesn't include the additional 5,000 you would need. Right now, it's very difficult to hire, especially
but-
someone who's certified.
Yes, but what I'm saying is if that 129 number is for a top step, giving him the ability, if he got somebody from another department to come in, so
Oh, I
that
see what you're
you would
saying.
cover that.
Okay,
If we
Plus,
hired somebody
yeah.
straight up, it's gonna be a lot less.
less,
Yeah, there'd be
okay.
money in the budget.
yeah, I
for
see that,
other
yeah, because
things.
coming out it'd
So
be
he
about
went
80
to
if
the
they just
top.
hired.
He went to the top of
That.
the line to give himself flexibility.
Yeah.
Flexibility to hire from another
Did-
department.
Yeah, look
I
at the
can't
wage
remember.
average,
Does
it's about
Maine
80K,
have a
so it looks like there's
requirement that you have to have
40
like
buffer
12 months of
Yeah,
training
okay.
before you can start, or can you start?
No, it's
Fresh
really
and-
it's just, we put him through an FTO program, like the new guy that just came out, he did 480 hours. Typically, if you hire somebody from another department, it just depends on their experience, and they have to get used to our SOPs and stuff like that. It could be anywhere from a month to 2 months in that, just to familiarize themselves with the roads and things of that nature.
Yeah, so here's my thought on it, and I know James wasn't for it because I see the cost, but I think we really do need to start planning, because if we do think of, okay, we're going to do leadership training and the captain and chief, we're talking 3, 4, maybe 5 years before they're gone. So that's all of a sudden going to take 2 patrolmen off and move them up.
Yeah.
So within 3 years, we're going to need the backfill for 2 people.
So
I think if we were to put in for a new officer for this year, by the time it gets through the town, by the time I know it's going around and other forces trying to get somebody hired and get somebody in there, I don't even think they're going to exhaust that this year. You know, and I think it
It's not like
starts
you're gonna
building.
pick up someone July 1 right there.
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
The last one took 8 months, so.
So yeah, no. My view on it is, I think we should budget for it, because
Yeah.
again, maybe we don't get one this year, and then we just don't spend the money. But if we are able to get one that shores up against, our older staff members leaving, and we actually have room for someone to leave and, or, God forbid, go to another community or retire or any of the other things that come up, so, or get injured and then just be out of it. So I think it's best to prepare for a new officer now, and if we don't spend the money, we don't spend the money. It just, but
the other side of the argument is, is James had said that one of the reasons he wasn't requesting it is because of our position with the state as far as our taxes and everything. What would it do if we added the position? What would it do to the budget?
I think realistically, we'd have to look at further pulling from undesignated fund balance to offset the impact. So,
because you're saying like we're up against the edge of how much we can change. Okay.
so we'd have to pull from our undesignated fund balance to offset it, which we have. So we have about, it was 3.9 million was the audit, and then with revenue sharing and the sale of the station, it's about 4.5 million. And then we can, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but like 12%, we have to keep 12.5%. So I believe the difference is about 1.9 million we have that's spendable out of the undesignated fund balance. And obviously, what we spend now, for a year from now,
Additional.
because if we don't have it
Yeah,
next year or 2 years from now, then we have no choice but to
put it on the tax base again.
tax base or cut things or
Right.
just
Well, that's the point I was making, is if we want to do this, we're gonna have to look for cuts in other places in the
Yeah.
budget.
Well, I think that
You know.
there's, I mean, I will say, and I'll say it now, I was going to the end, but is there any way we can get these sheets prior to the meeting? I mean, because we're trying to flip through and look now, where we may have questions later after we digest it a little bit more, but getting it and then,
You didn't take
Having to
your
look at
books
it.
home?
huh?
You didn't take your books home?
No.
You can take your books home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because, no, I liked it enough. But yeah, because then it would have been easier to kind of go through this a little bit more, because I got questions from the last one that I wrote down that I still have from the last departments, so.
Yeah, if you go further into your packet, under there, they have the
Right.
explanation of everything.
Yeah, and that would be,
Right.
helpful.
Right. So,
Okay.
I think it's,
What would be the impact to the total tax base if we
yeah,
added
I think
another
that's
full-time
the
employee?
question is like, what would it,
I would
what
like
would
to
it
see that
look
number.
like?
It'd be a 13% increase. So, I mean, in terms of like the tax rate, I mean, you're looking at,
Mhm.
I can't do it off the top of my head. I don't have that math skills off the top of my head.
Theirs and their payroll, I'm guessing 2.5.
I think it's about 700, for every 700,000 or 800,000 is a dollar on the
Yeah.
mill rate.
what is the mill rate that we have figured if we go with your recommendations right now?
It's not in the binder.
So,
I took the binder home, it's not there.
so our municipal difference would be effectively zero, and then it would just be the increase for
The school,
county
county.
and the school, which
Do you have a 0%?
18.4.
So basically, the town budget based on your current recommendations, would be flat, but the mill rate is still going to go up based on what the
Potential.
schools need and what the county needs.
probably go up more than a dollar.
Okay, so
So you're probably looking at using
we're at about 18 right now.
1830?
1830.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 1930.
And even though it's nothing to do with us, if we were to keep the budget, is everybody's gonna come and scream at us for raising their taxes.
They scream at us when we lower the taxes
I was
too.
going to say,
Right.
it's gone down for 3 years in a row.
It's-
and you're still not
yeah,
doing that,
yeah.
so.
Didn't lower it enough. Okay. I think what we would like to see is like what the overall, like the actual numbers of the change would be before we make a final decision on that. Is that something that we could get relatively soon? Other than that, the budget is pretty, as you say, pretty well flat, with the exception of the major change is that dispatch services right there.
Yeah.
That's a
Is Jerry the new station you have, the improved station?
Yes.
Is we did a lot in the last couple of years. There's more that need to be done, to bring it up to the codes and stuff as you need.
Yeah, we're trying to get someone to do our generator. And
Still-
we actually have a couple guys.
I was going to
Mr.
ask you if that
Sear,
was yet.
And he needs help to do it. So Tim Creighton offered his guys to help him get it done. That's the last thing, really. I think he did have something in here about our flooring because it's
Right.
got asbestos and it's starting to peel. So.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's the adhesive that has the asbestos, not the tile.
Some of the rooms we put
Carpet
carpeting in,
over, yeah.
but it's really tough to put it in working rooms where the
Right.
guys are going in and out of, and
Right.
who knows where they've been and what they're dragging in and out. So
Yeah. So yeah. So it's
the
typical
the
stuff.
garage has been phenomenal. I don't know if any of you guys want to see that virtual system. I know just when we got it, COVID came, so nobody came.
I was going to say, is he started
yeah.
renting that out?
We've been talking about that for about 3 years now about going in
So
there. and-
anytime you guys want to do that, let us know. It's really a good system. It's a great training use of force system because it takes them through the use of force, not just
Right.
shooting somebody. It takes them up and down. They use their own equipment, tasers, all that stuff. So we can set something up so you guys can take a look at that.
I'm gonna jump a little bit ahead of that, is on Thursday, we're having a meeting on the gun range on Wentworth Road.
Yes.
Where do you guys train?
We go up to Sanford.
Up to Sanford?
Yeah.
Okay.
We used to train there. It's a pretty good facility, but we started using Sanford PD.
They have
It's a
the
lot by
indoor.
the airport. It's not indoor.
Oh, no, that's right. They have the one out by the airport now,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just more like they have cars there. They have houses that you can go in and out of and stuff like that.
More of the things that you guys need to
Correct.
train on.
If we have to take a car up there and we have to shoot at it, we can. So
You looking for donations for cars?
sure.
Maybe getting a little bit ahead of us. Have the Berwick PD ever been called up to the gun range on Wentworth Road? That you know of?
We've had calls, complaints. I know the chief's been talking to some people who have complained about it. I mean, we hear it. I've been here a long time, so for years it's like that. I think
Right.
people who built around it should know there's a gun range there.
So,
That's what happens. It's a pretty good facility because I've been in it. To get a bullet to go up over, you'd have to be trying.
you have to do the MIDI
Yeah,
celebration.
it's not,
Right. So,
and they're pretty good every time we talk to them. I think they've reduced some of their hours
yeah.
Yeah.
when people have talked to them. But I mean, they've always been good to work with. We don't have many accidents. We had one accident up there, I think, because they do those fast holster things and those.
Show the cowboy draw things,
Yeah,
yeah.
somebody hit themselves with a foot. But other than that, nothing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else for the police budget at this time? All right, we will come back to it. We'll get some more hard numbers and figure out if we're going to add the new officer or not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming down. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up is Public Works.
Good night.
I'll try not to hit a deal.
Number 8. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we got Public Works and the transfer station.
I heard Noah say 8 twice, and it just registered that he was trying to tell.
Public Works, full-time staff for union, some increases there. The full-time wage now has Jody, was split with water and Public Works, so now it's all on the full-time. But overall, with the budget, there's a 4.3% decrease, and the big reason for that is we had I believe, was it 2 lease payments come off?
Yeah.
So with the Public Works and now the move in terms of our water contracting situation, how does that factor in to this budget? I mean, did we rearranged things, right? Or
Water is a completely separate budget.
okay, all right. So that'll be a discussion for another night.
We typically, the select board has not, I don't believe, has reviewed the water.
No, when I've been at budget meetings, I don't know if Steve ever brought it to them later. Do you know? I don't think so.
No, because it was through the public utility and
Yeah, it
things.
funds itself, so.
Okay. Okay. So, but well,
Yeah, it was all separate.
I didn't know if there was any changes with what's with
Well,
It does
all
fund
the
itself.
payroll's gone, and now it's one lump sum for contracted services.
Okay. And that one lump sum comes out of the income it provides.
Yes.
So it's kind of a circular situation there. Coolio. Okay. So ignoring that.
There's anything you want to add in terms of where, I know Jody and I, we talk weekly about the plans for the department and where you want to take it.
So how many full-time people do we have?
You're slated for 6 full-time. Right now, we have 5. Still trying to fill the 6th position. Probably going to be looking for a 7th full-time employee next year. Working with DOT at this point, trying to get the department down there a training center, because at this point, if you don't have a CDLB license, DOT last year or prior year has come out with a program where you have to send people out, and it's usually $4,000 to $6,000 or $7,000 to employ people that don't have CDLs, send them to get the CDL so they can drive the trucks in the municipality.
These are just the regular town trucks, right?
Yeah, you'll need a CDLB for that. But what the state has got an option for municipalities is to make their building or their lots a training facility and have a driver down there be the trainer, and it doesn't cost the $4,000 or $5,000 because what the trend is at this
Train-the-trainer
point
program.
is
Yep.
they're gonna you pay these people, and for instance, you'll train this one guy, and we can only pay him $22. But I know as of right now, there's cement truck drivers $32 an hour, garbage truck drivers are $28-30 an hour, blacktop people that do paving and stuff like that, Carol's and stuff, up over $30 an hour. So that's been a norm from what I hear around other towns, is that you'll train these younger guys per se, and we're stuck with the union stuff at $22.68 this year. Moving forward, that was part of why I was looking into getting the training facility at the town of Berwick Highway down there, and it wouldn't cost us that to train them. We wouldn't be out much if that's the avenue they decided to go.
How many part-time people do we have?
At this point, none. Can't find any of those either. We've been running ads for 5 or 6 months, even through the winter months.
So you don't have any, but the budget increased by 8.98%.
I think that's due to the cost if we do happen to find some. Instead of $16 or
That's the
$15
16
an
that
hour,
you
what we
only
used to
used this year. Got it.
used to hire a Matt, we'd probably be looking at around 20. So I'm
That
still
sounds about
looking
right.
for 3 guys to mow grass this year, because in the past, Public Works has mowed the grass. The full-time employees at $25-30 an hour have mowed grass. I'm really trying to get that away from them so they can do more road work and get some part-timers, seasonal guys.
I'll mow grass for $20 an hour. Too bad I'm not
Well,
eligible
you
for
think you think that, but there's Shane who used to work there. He owns a landscaping company.
that. Yeah.
He had to pay $25 an hour just to get people to come to work.
You just ask Mark. Mark probably he's probably up to about $20 an hour now.
Yeah, he could probably fill you in on the wages and the people.
Where did chief, the police there go? Don't they have community service hours people could do?
If you want to put them on a mower around the kids, I don't know. Yeah.
So a couple other noteworthy information. We didn't chase the inflation rate. We kind of kept it to where we were. I'm hoping things come down. A lot of uncontrollable things that we can't control, rather, is, we're working with several older equipments. So for the equipment maintenance line, we kind of kept steady. And then contractor services, there's a lot of older trees, dead trees in our right-of-ways. We're getting a lot of calls those the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So a lot of that money is allocated to that. And salt. So, for instance, for salt last year, when we did the budget, it was $58. But they usually come out with their new number in the spring, late spring, and it was $78 a ton. So when these budgets come out, we're just either hope for a easy winter or
Another winter like today. This one,
and fuel as well last year. Fuel last year was $2 or $3 more this year. So obviously, the more snow you got, the more the trucks are out on the road, the more the fuel line will.
Why the decrease in equipment maintenance?
Well, we had gotten 2 new trucks,
Okay.
and hopefully we won't have to put as much money into that.
they're knocking on wood for the rest
I
of the
just, nope, that's fine. I just know, like you said, there's some older equipment up there, and I was kind of curious to see why you thought that'd go down.
What equipment are you looking to replace in the coming years?
Well, the chipper's in 1996, and it was very hard to find some parts for that. New chipper right now is around $55,000. We do have an air compressor that's in 1986. We cannot find parts for it. I mean, we could rent one if we had to, but most of the winter or summer times, that's a lot for the post you put all the signs on.
How
So if
big
that
of
thing
a
goes, it's
air
done.
compressor are you
So
talking?
it's 180 CFS,
A Toby Hyde compressor.
Yeah.
about $21,000. My 4 to 5 year plan is to hope to get a crack filling machine, so we don't have to contract that out, and a shoulder machine.
How much can we save with a crack filling machine in a given year? Do you think?
I'd have to look on last year's contract and how much we did, but I believe that was almost $32,000.
And that's how much we could save per year with
That's
our
how
own
much
machine.
it was to contract that
Yeah.
out for how many feet we ended up doing.
Okay. And how much does a machine cost?
I think they were 48,000. Everything's right around 48, 50, 60,000.
Talking-
Yeah, so yeah.
I'm talking 2 years.
So 2 years, you're well. I mean, you also have to pay people to
Right,
use it,
use it.
and also for supplies and such. So yeah, call it 2 years. You paid. You probably paid for the machine, if not 3 years. And based on the age of other equipment, we tend to keep the stuff around.
And possibly do more of the patching than we can contract out.
Yeah, that's also true. There's probably more patching that we don't do because
We run out of money.
yeah, exactly.
Right. With the inflation.
And the more road maintenance you get, you can probably get another 4 to 6 years out of a road if you do the crack filling in the shoulders.
Yeah.
James, we talked about, and I'm not sure if it's gonna fall under facilities or public works here, but we had talked about some road signs and things of that nature. Would that be in here? Is that a special request? Make
That,
sure that we get that in the budget this year?
so that will be in the police capital, and you'll see that for next week, and I'll make sure to get the capital out before Thursday so you can review it.
Yeah,
For all the capital. So it's 2 signs. I don't know if
it's gonna go for the police, not for grounds and roads?
So police, even before the discussions we had, they had it in their CIP plan to have them because it also doubles as a radar sign, and they have room to store it over at the PD.
Okay.
And but obviously, the town can use it when we need it for stuff.
Right.
Right.
It's not theirs, it's ours.
Do we have while we're talking about capital, do we have an estimate of what we want to for target for road funding? Right around the 700,000 range.
We had talked.
I'd like to do $1 million,
I was gonna
because
say,
I think we
last
need to
year-
do $1 million.
Last year, we
but-
talked about going up every year in order to kind of catch up.
Well, what I recall that conversation being was we had taken previous to last year, we had taken a big chunk of money from the undesignated fund to pay for road repairs, and then it was brought up. I believe you made the observation that once we don't have enough money then it's going to be a big increase, and what we should be doing is paying more from taxpayer budget actually budgeted, and less from the undesignated fund balance, like making it weaning it off over the next couple of years.
Right. Every year,
And-
every budget cycle going up
Yeah.
a little bit more.
And in this
Okay.
budget, I'm proposing going from 70 to 150, but obviously that number can fluctuate however we want to thread that needle
That's the 150 through the tax,
through taxes. Yep.
and the rest, whatever we decide, would come through the undesignated funds, same as before.
And a total of about 700,000. You want $1 million?
Well, and I just
think
don't.
if we did 700,000 last year, I think we should do more this year. Whether
I think it was 750 last year. I have to double check.
I can't remember.
we have a lot of roads that
Yeah, I don't
either
I
need
didn't
the
bring my-
finishing coat or just to be done.
I know.
And, that's one of the things I mentioned last week is we have several roads that only have the base coat on, and we need to get the top coat on them. I think that should be a priority this year. Worcester Road, Cemetery Road, parts of Pine Hill, I know only have one coat on them, and we need to get that travel coat on them, or it's going to start breaking up.
Right, and this is going to be a waste of money because we
Right.
didn't finish it.
Right. So, I know that I know they're talking about Old Sanford Road. I don't know what roads you had planned, but Old Sanford Road is a big long road, and going to be a lot of reconstruction on that road.
The rest of Cranberry Meadow Road.
Right. So, what were your ideas about what roads did you want to look at?
Well, we were looking at finishing up Long Swamp and Little River as far as the ends of them, which wouldn't be too pricey. And I was trying to preserve from Worcester to the bridge on Pine Hill, because that's, we talk about top coats or fine coats. If we let that go another 2-3 years, it's probably going to have to get some reclaim on it,
Right, well,
stuff like that.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So these smoother, kind of like just getting off the bridge to Long Swamp to where we finished or started last year.
Yeah.
That's kind of smooth. So we just do a light shimmer on that, and some of the older roads that we can save. But I think we'll still have some funding to get some road coats on some of these other roads as well.
Well, like I said, it is, I don't know, Worcester Road was what, 4 years this year?
Yeah.
We did it?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, we
3
did
years
one.
ago for Cemetery Road.
Yeah.
Is, for just the base coat, I noticed, I can see the cracks already forming all along the edges, and, we're gonna waste all that money we spent.
And again, crack filling machine to get some of those bigger ones. I mean, Blackberry Hill's only 6 years old. Look how rough shape that road's already in.
Yeah.
Being 6 years old. So
if you wanted to put that into capital, how would, if a machine, and you wanted to put that into capital expenditures, how much would that change what you're currently requesting for capital improvement?
we could write a proposal and I can get a hard number for it at some point for moving forward, for sure. Depending on a lot of variables, I didn't pave a lot last year because the price of fuel went up, and a lot of fuel's used in this blacktop and part of the roads and stuff, tack coats and stuff. So our original numbers weren't as good as when they first came out, as far as when the price of fuel went up. So moving forward with putting equipment in that funding, again, we'd rattle off some numbers like $50,000. So if you're saying you want $700,000 to pave the roads, we would look at $750 for the paving and then $50 for the machine. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Is that what you're looking at?
It might be good to look at just getting those top coats done and just take another 50 or 100,000 from undesignated fund balance to save ourselves the heartache of having to pay a couple $100,000 down the road.
Well, that's it. I don't think any one of us is opposed to spending the money if it's not wasting the money. If we're going to spend it, make it count. And we're going
And
to
that's-
keep
and
chasing.
that's
We're going
the
to
thing,
keep
like-
chasing stuff to fix it. Like,
Yeah,
we're not doing any good.
And if it's something that's going to save us, tangible money, like the lights, we did the street lights, that saves us tangible amounts
Yep.
of money.
Yes.
Money that we can, we paid off a loan with the money we saved. Makes sense. Same thing with a crack filling machine. If we're already spending the money and we can pay it off in a year and a half, 2 years, then it's a tangible investment that we can show hard numbers on, So that's of great interest.
So proposals will be, I can write up proposals for next year as well. Obviously we'd be looking at another person as well.
Yeah.
You got the flaggers, you got the truck drivers. There's a lot into looking into the whole picture like that.
And running against, we've been trying to squirrel away some money for expansion of the public works facility. So with a crack filling machine, you're probably already up against space.
Storage, depending on what we're gonna do.
Back to the question about how much money we want to take out of the undesignated fund, is, do you have a suggestion about a top limit that we could take out of it?
I just think we just want to have considerations for 2 and 3 years from now. That's really it. And I think probably going to run some numbers on what we've used in the past, and it's hard to predict. I mean, I can see what you're thinking. It's probably hard to.
That's why we need to
Project
get it
two
back
and
in the,
3
that's
years.
why we need to get it back in the budget and not
And
have
then,
it
yeah.
continually coming out of.
I
I
think
think one of the things that
We've
came up
been
last year was the
sustainable.
fact that it was just, we're just going to patch it with whatever we have left, and there was never a plan.
We've
So
been
hearing
very-
2 to 3 years is what I want to hear, because how do we plan for this?
We've been very fortunate with revenue sharing, like jumped 800,000 or something in the past few years. So that that won't be there forever. Probably.
no, we don't want to. We don't want to bank on it.
And no, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, revenue share, like, it only changed after Janet Mills took over, right? Or was it? It was like less before that, right?
I believe it was reduced to 3%, and then it was increased to 5%.
Yeah. That it's supposed to be like 5%, right? Or is it supposed to be
I
higher?
think it's at the max right now.
Okay.
I think.
The just based off the numbers I'm hearing, what I would suggest is maybe 800,000 overall, and maybe 25% of that coming from the actual budget, and the rest coming from the undesignated fund balance. And that should give us plenty to work with to make sure that we can get all the roads that need to get done.
We should be able to start earlier because we
Yeah,
agreed to go with the same
we'll be able to
company, right?
get
So
it
we
done
should get started
earlier,
earlier.
and we should end at better price because we went earlier as well. So
So we have enough funds left over from last year that we're gonna probably start in April.
okay,
Good.
And we got a good rapport with these people. They'd be willing to hold the note. If we started in May, they'd hold the note until June or till
July.
to
yeah.
July
July.
1st. Yeah.
James, do you remember how much did we take out of the tax? How much of that 700 or 750 from last year came out of the tax base?
I think it was 50, wasn't it?
70,000.
It
Yeah, it was
70,000.
70, yeah.
Yeah.
So 25% of 800 is 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna jump.
And I have in the budget now with it's 150, so going from
Okay.
150 to 200
It's just 50.
may not
Okay.
break the
Yeah.
bank.
Nope. Okay. Perfect. I just wanted to throw the number, so Noah heard it as a number,
Yeah.
not just the percent. Sorry.
And except for my wife, we can all do percentages in our heads. No.
I don't even want to try.
And if you want to write up a proposal for a crack filling machine, we can start
having a
talking about that
conversation
and either get that in the budget for possibly this year, possibly
Or start looking at.
next year, or undesignated fund balance expenditure. But if it's going to save us, 30,000 in contracted funds, then we can reallocate those contracted funds towards the machine this year, and then we're spending an additional 20,000 out of the budget.
Have we looked to see if there's any grants available for equipment for public works for towns? I know we've been good at landing some pretty significant ones for the actual work, but is there anything out there for equipment replacement?
I haven't really gotten that deep into it, not knowing exactly where we were headed with this conversation.
No, it just popped in my head. It wasn't anything I was.
Now,
I'd seek a guess that I know they got a bunch of transportation money, and see if something qualifies under that. I know the state's
Because
just got a
especially
bunch
where
of
we're
that.
starting to see where we're getting project money, where we're like, hey, we have these projects we're building on it. This would be really helpful to help move these along. Because again, I don't think the state likes wasting money either. So if they're going to spend money, they might allocate a little bit more. To try to help
They
it-
got to
help
spend it, or
keep-
they have to give it back.
that too, but-
And transfer station. Overall, 1.81% increase. Some wages, just I think historically, transfer station has had some pretty low wages, so just trying to get it up there to be competitive.
How many people we have?
4.
Yeah.
4 at one's at 27 hours, and then the 3 are at 24 hours.
and one fill-in, 2 fill-ins, if anybody needs to go on vacation and gets.
Okay.
Yeah, we have coverage time, which I went back and forth with Lisa about 6 times about getting it right, but it has enough coverage in there to backfill if someone's out with sick or vacation time, PTO.
So these are they're all part-time employees, so, are they part of the union as well?
They are not.
They are not. So that's where you're looking at the 18% increase to bring up their wages?
Bring up their wages, and it also wages and the cost to cover shifts.
Cover shifts?
So if someone's out, then
Right,
You
overtime.
have to pay,
Yeah, you
pay
have to pay
public
overtime. What
works.
I'm just saying is,
Yeah,
that,
they're
you
averaging
know,
what, $15 an hour right now?
is that what it is at?
I think so. 27 hours times 15. Yeah, about that. The average is coming in at $14.97.
Okay, that's what I mean, okay.
So I know it's not in the budget, but the swap shop is, is very popular, but hard to run. I understand all the problems, associated with it, with, having coverage for it and getting people to not drop off what they're not supposed to and all of that. Has there been any more discussion about opening it up?
No, Vision Berwick, they help staff it with volunteers during the spring, summer when the weather is nice. In the winter time, it's been closed.
Right. So the idea is that just still looking at just having volunteers running it and when they can. Is that the
So it
plan?
might be a couple hours, and that's not counting the fill-in. But
We could
Yeah.
talk
Well,
with,
it's a good idea. I agree. It's a good idea. I would rather have people, swapping stuff back and forth and throwing it into the waste stream. But I also understand the problems that it brings. Is I've been down there many times when you have 10 cars parked in front of the swap shop and people are trying to get in and dump their trash off. Is I also know the people that hang out there all day. Is I don't have a problem with people coming and taking things. I have no problem with that at all. I don't even care if they live in Berwick and take things personally.
Plus, we got to dispose of.
Yeah, that's it. But I think it's something that we need to talk about and figure out what we're going to do. Either we're going to operate it half-heartedly, which I don't see as a real. It doesn't really solve anything. If it was only open part-time on one day, it doesn't really give the town an opportunity to use it. It's restricted to that one time. But
More specifically, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like there's confusion about the swap shop in general. Is it open? Is it closed? When is it open? When is it closed? When can you actually stop by to drop something off? Or, if we're going to do it, it should find a way to be somewhat consistent where we could actually have rules and times and things people could actually know what's going on, because most of the time I have no idea what's going on with it until I drive by and oh, it's open today. And then I'll drive by for 12 weeks and it's never open. And just I don't know. So, I'm not sure if it's something that we want to budget for, but it is something that there's clear interest in, and we should figure out if we're going to keep at it, or find a way to make it consistent in some way, whether that's with volunteers and some form of liability insurance or something that.
I'm not even opposed to seeing if we can find an outside entity to run it. If that's what it takes. There is a need, there is a desire for it to be something like that to be in Berwick. So I just figured it's a good time to bring it up. I'm not expecting to fund it with a full-time position this year or a part-time position this year, but it's something that we need to discuss, something we need to talk about.
Make a
It definitely is very
swap shop
popular.
committee.
Yeah.
I'm famous for dropping stuff off and never picking anything up. So
All the hoarders in town will get together and form a committee to run the shop. That way they always get first pick. That'll be great. Any other questions for Public Works, Transfer Station?
go get some rest. We're gonna have a snowstorm, I hear.
Yeah.
But while you're resting, write a proposal. Get that to us.
and look for grants.
Look for, get looking for
The
grants.
salt line looks good right now, but wait 24, 48 hours.
Yeah, well,
Well, the salt line looks great because it's been a very,
That's what I mean.
yeah.
very low. Other places, they were getting hammered.
Go down half north.
We didn't get snow until the beginning of the middle of January. It was correct. All right, so now we are on to BCM.
Okay. All right, guys.
Thanks, Jody.
Yep.
Good night.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Night, Jay.
Hi, Terry. Hello. All right.
So this budget, it includes we're looking at possibly a contingency. We want to go out and try to hire a part-time assistant director in January of 2024. As Terry will fill you in, there are succession plans in motion, or at least the very preliminary stages of it. So we're going to go out, and the plan would be to advertise for a part-time position starting, I think, right around this time next year. And if part-time hours don't work, switch that to a full-time position to be hired. We put in there for the budget for the beginning of March. So the idea would be to bring somebody in so Terry can train them, and eventually, once the position's posted, the idea would hopefully have a succession plan and have it be a smooth transition.
What about any of the current members of BCM? Are they interested in the position?
Ralph, you interested?
Okay.
So that's the.
I was gonna say Ralph's almost probably ready to do the same thing.
So the increase, the difference between the department's request and the manager's request is you're looking to insert somebody in there?
So what we talked about originally was to have someone start part-time in January. But my concern is, like everything else we've just heard this evening, it's hard to find part-time people. They want benefits. They want full-time. So my goal would be, come December, to put out for the position as part-time for January. If I can't find anyone, we'd wait until March and put it out as a full-time position to begin in April through the end of June. And then July 1st, they would take my position. And I would sail off into the setting sun.
So does the.
AKA volunteer on 6 more committees.
So, what is that? Is that allowable under policy to have two people in the same position, even for a crossover period?
They'd be an assistant position,
Yeah, the position is
and
the
then
assistant
I'd
director.
be the director still.
Right, but you would bring them on. If you can't find someone part-time, you're going to hire someone full-time.
And they'd be a full-time assistant director.
Right, but I understand that. What I'm saying is, then you would have two full-time people for a period of time
Yeah.
until you left in July.
And can I backtrack a little bit? So I started in 2012, and we had a budget of so much, and I've lived within that budget for 11 years now. The budget is $120,000. I've kept our salaries low. I've kept my budget within that $120,000, so it doesn't over. And in that period of time, I've managed to put money in reserve. That money had built up to close to $80,000 or $90,000 as a reserve amount of money. And over the past 2 or 3 years, I've been pulling from that reserve because as salaries increased and benefits increased, as we added people for hours doing more than what they typically would, because I know Ralph puts in more than 15 hours a week every week. I put in more hours a week
Just gonna
every
I was
week.
gonna say you guys work a lot,
Um,
so
that's just the typical. So I've remained in that, but I can't remain in that budget anymore. It's just not possible. And one of the things was noted to me is that a lot of departments take money in. Take the recreation department; they bring in money, just like I bring in money. But they don't have to live within that amount of money. I've had to live within that amount of money, and I can't do it anymore. So what I'm saying to you is, these are the choices that I could think of because I want to retire July 1st.
Okay.
So your choice is have the person start July 1st and I walk away, but it will fail. I guarantee you, if I just walk away on July 1st without any training or any help.
Oh, there absolutely should be a
Yeah.
crossover period in a position like this. What I'm saying is, does the policy allow that? Some municipal policies say that you can't add in. So you're thinking of, and you answered my question, I believe, by saying it's going to be a brand-new position. So when Terry retires and that person takes over as the director, what happens to that deputy director position?
Well, and that's going to have to be that person's decision. Ralph works 15 hours a week as an assistant. And as far as I know, he's planning on staying. He's going to need help. You know, while I do the job as a full-time person, I do almost everything pretty much myself. I set everything up for Bobby Jo. She just comes in and runs it. Ralph does all the library events, which is fantastic. I don't really need to worry about it, along with many other events that we do together. So I see that he's still going to need help, he or she.
So you're suggesting to include the deputy director position permanently, not just as a transition period?
I think it's going to be up to whoever takes over the position to decide if they need that person. I can't say that whoever takes that job is going to say, oh, I definitely need a second person.
No, and I get that, and I like the fourth thought, Terry. I think
So do I.
I think Linda's
Yeah.
concern is how do we do it where we don't set the town up for a lawsuit in August because all of a sudden we created a full-time employee and then got rid of it in full-time employee.
Right.
Or one moves up, like you said,
Yeah.
and then now you have this empty spot. Is it?
Well, I think based on the timeline that you laid out, I mean, we're in March of this year. I mean, we're February this year,
Yeah.
and we're going to be. This budget starts on July 1st.
Right.
This plan isn't going to be taking effect until 11 months from now,
13.
and then in that case, by the time that, let's say, all goes well, and you're able to hire a deputy director or whatever, assistant director, in January or February of next year, by that time we're going to be working on budgets again,
Right.
and we at that time can either budget for an assistant, or we can just
Or-
budget for the director.
An eliminated
who-
position. Well, that's-
exactly.
No,
That brings me to
and
my
I get
next-
that, but I think it's how we word
Right. I'm
what
talking
this
about
is going to.
policy.
I'm all for this.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
saying
just
how we
it's
walk
how
our way
we
through.
word it.
Yeah.
And the other thing, which you made a very good point of, and definitely appreciated, is you have always worked within the budget. And it's unfortunate to hear that you're putting in more hours than you're clocking hours, because in order to, in this day and age, go out and find someone who's going to fill the spot, they may not have that resolve that someone else, especially when you're bringing them in from the outside. And they're going to want more money than what is listed here in
Well,
order to
yeah.
take this over.
That has been the other problem, and I actually did send James a wage and salary survey from
Yeah, I did some research too. And,
yeah.
And that's going to be a concern, is because we're not going, and all of the hard work you put in is appreciated, but to pull somebody, you live in Berwick, okay, so you're
Invested
vested
in
here.
Yeah.
To pull somebody from the outside with that kind of talent, you're not going to pull them in. It'd be really hard to pull someone in with that kind of money. So maybe we're not thinking about it right now, but we definitely need to be thinking about it for the next budget if you're going to pull someone in. But it is going to affect the tail end of this budget. Because if you don't find a part-time person and we put out for a full-time person to do the last couple months,
Yeah.
that's in this budget.
Right.
And I don't think you're going to get them for this kind of money that you're offering even part-time. I just don't.
Well, you're looking at it'd be all for what she described, April, May, and
June. So that's a quarter,
Yeah.
but they're not going to come on board for what we've budgeted, is what I'm saying. They're going to say, unless you're going to get them some sort of offer letter that says in 3 months, when Terry leaves, we'll jump your salary to this much. And I don't know that a person that with the experience that you need is going to take that risk, is what I'm saying. I'm thinking that if that's truly the plan, you're going to retire, and you're looking for someone in that period of time, you need to put more money in that budget item, because you're not going to. What happened? I mean, you willing to stay another year if we can't find someone?
It's not the impression I got either.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the impression that I got. And that when I was looking around for, public access, And I looked at this and I said, I know that you don't, but taking someone completely from the outside and bringing them in here, and this isn't really a market value that they're going to come in for. So,
Yeah, I did, and again, I was looking at what I'm making, and
Right.
and I am not making what I should be making as far
That's
as my.
exactly
And I
what
think
I'm
that's where
saying.
Linda was going with that.
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so to replace you, this is not enough.
I think, so my proposal in terms of what the impact to the taxpayer would be, I've kicked this idea around, this is, as a starting point, anything above and beyond, I believe the revenue for the past couple of years is about 124,000. So we take sorry, this may sound a little convoluted, but we'll get there. So take anything above the 124, and we just simply split the difference between the reserves and the taxpayers. So
For is there a plan though, like a progression plan? Because you can do that 1 year, but then
Right, well, and that's what I said to him. As I leave, I want to make sure that the capital budget is in there. To replace those servers is going to cost you close to $80,000. You've got to put the money aside. You've got $21,000 coming from Comcast in December of this year for capital. And that's that reserve money that I've been pivoting away every year that we don't use all of our budget has been to put into that capital budget. And my fear is that as we draw down from that reserve, that money's going to disappear and you're not going to have a capital budget. So one of the things I said to him is my concern is you keep pulling out of that reserve, and I understand what you're saying, that if before you ask taxpayers for money, you haven't depleted what you've got, then,
right, but you've got a plan for
But that's got to be a plan too.
life cycle
Right.
of the servers, life cycle for equipment.
Right.
All of that has to be taken into consideration. So it's not, taken from the taxpayers with, where you got money sitting there. That money is technically allocated for capital.
and that's what, the other thing I said is that Comcast, the money is specifically for only capital for BCM. So I'm not sure how this would work, and, one of the thoughts, I've gone through this many different scenario ways, does the town just take BCM over as a town department, and the money, instead of coming directly to BCM, there's a warrant article that says it goes directly to the town, and that then
Is
everything.
BCM not a town department?
It quasi-department.
Yeah.
Okay.
My money has always come just from the Comcast franchise fees. None of it comes from the town people at all. So my budget is completely separate. In all technical terms, I don't need to really be sitting in front of you for anything other than this is the appropriate thing to do.
And you want additional funds.
You don't approve my budget because it's not part of the town budget.
Until
Did
now.
you not present a budget last year? No.
I present a budget every year.
Okay, but the town isn't paying for it.
The town doesn't vote on it at all.
Okay.
Until this year.
Yes,
she's
that's
asking
why
for
I-
additional.
yes.
That's why this
that-
year is different.
Yeah, I guess that's why I was confused
For
because I
12
just thought it
years,
was.
we have managed to make it without dipping or asking for help.
Okay.
However, this year, it's changed. And there's just no way we're going to manage to stay within 120,000.
That tickles me for a completely different reason. I've seen people complain. Well, I've seen a person complain online about how, Tom sits on the board and his wife gets a salary, and it was like, well, the town hasn't been paying her salary at all. That adds to the ridiculousness of that
So
complaint.
the check comes to the town of Berwick.
Yeah.
But per a warrant article, when BCM was first established, all monies that come for the franchise can only go to BCM.
Gotcha.
But you fought and clawed for 5%, right? I mean, that was a battle
Yeah,
to increase it because they want. What was the percentage they wanted to give you?
2.5. Yeah, when we negotiated the last franchise, it took a long time, and they wanted to continue to pay us 2.5, and we got it up to the 5, and we got the capital improvement grant. However, 40,000 of that went back to wire 2 roads in Berwick.
Got it.
Okay, thank you,
Going at 40 hours.
Okay.
thank you.
So yes, this is a different.
So
Different-
what you're recommending in this particular budget is that the 120, give or take, comes from Comcast, applies to the budget. The difference that's left over is split between what is in reserve for BCM and the town actually paying the other half of the difference.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're looking at making salary adjustments to the assistant and for Terry, then it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be 50-50, but that was just.
So I guess technically it's town policy you have to worry about than what she does with that assistant director position.
Well, it will now because she's taking.
Like
she'll be
she's taking
using
town money for
money.
it. Okay.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
So
I just think that
Fair
you.
point. But I think the piggyback Linda's concern. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you and Ralph have worked really hard since I've been in town building this up and making this a part of where people. I mean, Noah and I were talking about it. I've watched every planning board meeting from home, whether I'm not, like I use it for everything to know what's going on in town. And he said, July 1st, 2024, Terry retires. I'd like to still see it continue to be what you guys have made it. And I think we really do need to take a look at what we need to do as a town or as a board to kind
I
of keep
think
that going.
probably what should end up happening is probably not with this particular budget, but going forward, the town should establish it as an official budgeted department, and then actually have it be like the library, like a
The library used to be on its own too, and then it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Should take a look at what's in the funds and just see. All right, this is the upper limit of what we need for capital reserves. Just see what that. I just don't know off the top of my head what that
I was
number
going to
is.
say, what is in capital reserves? Do you know?
No. You had sent me a figure at one point.
I see so many figures.
I know. I
the numbers.
believe
that
it was
they
right
So you don't
around
memorize
80.
all of them for everything that
So
you see.
if you got 80,000, approximately,
Right.
approximately 80,000 in reserves now, and you're already knowing what it's going to cost you to place the service, which shelf life of 3 to 5 years.
5 to 7.
Okay, all right. Well, I thought you can't take half the money out of the reserves because you're going to back yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the piece that I'm more concerned about.
So you
is how
have to
we
kind
do
of bite the
that.
bullet and say, okay,
Yeah.
we know a year in advance. We have some of it budgeted, but James, you can't leave yourself strapped when you post this and someone comes in for an interview and you don't have anything to work with as far as budgeting goes, because when that person comes on as the deputy, they're not going to come on for part-time wages. They're going to want to come on for full-time.
Well, I
benefits.
figured I'd give it a shot. You know?
No, I appreciate that.
I have that optimistic heart, and
Yeah.
I keep thinking, somebody might, if they thought that at the end of 6 months they'd have a full-time position with benefits, maybe. I don't know.
Are there any?
But that the contingency was that if by that period of time of March I couldn't, we put it up as a full-time one. Because we wouldn't have used any funds from January to March.
Right.
So now you've got the funds, which is why I said we wanted the higher amount, because that would give us the amount we need for full-time with benefits. And we calculated out at the highest rate of benefits, the family plan, the whole 9 yards, just in case.
Yep.
But the person could come on and already have health insurance through through their spouse.
Right.
Or I was going to say any of the schools, UNH or you mean, just got an intern or somebody graduating that you can leverage their programs to
Like,
try to
I
see.
wish that was the case.
I'm just
That would be
because
the
you know if you could
ultimate.
get somebody who's coming out of school and all of a sudden you know you
If
do
I
well and
wanted
you
to
graduate
wait a
2 months
few
after
more
that
years,
you
it
have a
might
full time
happen,
job.
but-
Yeah. might get
Why
some
could
on
it
the lower
happen?
end of the
Are they
pay
just
scale, yeah.
too much demand for their work?
Yeah, no, there really is. There are 3 stations in Maine right now without anyone running them. One of them went
That's
black.
my concern, and if we're bottom of the barrel, we're not gonna get anyone.
What do you mean?
And I'm
Like,
afraid
are
it's
you
gonna
talking about
fall
like the news
flat.
stations?
The public access stations.
Okay.
Yeah,
Public access stations. One of them's gone dark. It just, no one to run it.
and that's what I'm afraid's gonna happen.
I came out of
That's
media
exactly-
school and there was no freaking jobs except for unpaid internships. This is nonsense.
Yeah, well.
I have a media
Times
degree.
are-
You
God
could
damn
Times
it.
are
you could trade in your
changing.
chair position.
Well, I mean, I still make more than this. But
Lots of people do.
I just
Yeah.
think you, James, you really.
when I
gotta go
came out of
back
high
and
school,
think
when I came
about
out of college, I didn't make that.
No.
I mean,
and that's-
because even if you look at it and you increase it to give yourself enough for those 3 months, 25% of a year, in this budget, you know, Terry
They gotta
resigns and
multiply
they
it by
move
4.
up to the director's position, and you don't fill the deputy, you might next year get some savings, but you don't know that, so you have to at least allocate it now, in case.
Are you thinking about adding about 25%?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just
I
to
mean, maybe you don't
have
need
a
it,
cushion.
but
Yeah,
you got to put it in there.
exactly. So I think for that part-time wages, we go from 19 to about 24, just as a
Wait a
safety
minute, that's
cushion.
what I'm making.
No, no.
Hold on a minute here.
No.
Break it in the box.
But again, you're not putting it in the part-time.
Yeah.
We're talking about if they go, the deputy goes full-time
Yeah.
the last 3 months. So that's
Exactly.
gotta be in the full-time wages.
That's true. That's a fair point.
You gotta add, because the manager's request is already more than the department requests. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's for the deputy in case you have to go full-time. I think that's where you add the money.
So basically, just
Yeah, I'll get.
add
How-
about 5,000 as a cushion,
Well-
just against.
I would add
Hedge your
that,
bet.
because you, just in benefits alone, you're gonna have to, because you're gonna have to pay benefits for
a
25% of
full-time
that budget year.
Yeah, we'll get the actual number. We'll run some scenarios and try to get things.
Well, I mean, the benefits don't change
I
terribly
think
much.
it's fat.
If you're just talking about adding, I mean,
But you don't know who it is, so they
Yeah,
come home
every
and
single
they got
line
a
is gonna
family,
change.
they go for the family plan. And again, you only have to calculate it at 25% for this budget,
yeah.
because then it would go into the next budget.
We'll be talking
But
about this all again next
Talking
year.
about
Yeah.
the full-time person,
That's fine. We'll talk about it next year.
because for 3 months, you're gonna be paying benefits to 2 people.
Yep. That's true. Well, yeah.
I'll get something together by
Yeah.
Friday afternoon. Thursday, well, Thursday evening, I'll be busy. I'll be here.
Yeah.
Well, you hope. We could all be snowed in by then.
Then yeah, then I'll have it to
Get
you.
it as soon as you can. Don't rush
Yeah.
it and make
Thursday
mistakes.
We still got
But,
several
you know,
weeks
I was
to
gonna
Yeah,
say we
there's-
got plenty of time.
Same thing. That's the planning board is like, are we going to get this on the warrant in time? Yeah, there's still plenty of time to get it on the ballot. We still
Yeah.
got time to do this stuff.
What about the rest of your budget as far as, I know you said you have the capital, but that's, I mean, pretty much gonna take up your servers. What
Well,
about the rest of the equipment that has a life cycle?
Well, there's already an increase
well, that
for
was the other
equipment.
thing. I said to him, with the new director coming on, I'm going to have to get a new laptop and monitor and things like that for this person in order for them to be able to do everything I do from home.
Yep.
So that's going to
That's
be
what's
in
in there.
there.
Okay.
The rest of my capital stuff is all good right now, although we may need to purchase one more camera for this person. That way, when we do different shoots, we've got, Ralph has one, I have one, and they have one.
What kind of camera do you use?
Canon, what is it, the
And
XF.
605,
Yep, 605s.
4K.
Yeah, but, and then the only other thing I had thought of was that, you know, we should put in another camera in here. My goal was to have another robotics camera in that corner. so that we're not trying to capture from here to here, but we could use one there. So, but it's an iffy thing. It doesn't have to be done. It's just something that I.
How much do
Nice
those
to have.
cost?
They're about $3,000.
Should not throw things at the camera. Got it.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a robotic one. If it's just in the corner there, it could be stationary.
No, it needs to be robotic. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. Well, being able to zoom in and out on various things, it's much nicer. I love my robotic cameras.
Are you gonna miss them?
Probably. Probably. Not going to lie to you.
Terry, I don't think anybody in this town, will, with very minor exception, would ever complain about the work that you've done. It's been incredible and
agree.
very high quality and beyond what most people could ever ask for. So obviously, we're sad to see you go at any time, even in a year and a half, basically. But still,
I was going to say, you got plenty of time.
yeah. But yes, you've done a great job with this program, and basically, you basically built it, didn't you? I mean, was there much here before you came?
So yeah, we lived in that closet over there, and we hit elbows every time we moved. But yeah, no, they did just government meetings. They did do a parade out front here once. But when I came on, I immediately knew the potential that this had for being an access place where you got the information out. Started doing school board meetings, then the person who was running it left, and I immediately jumped in and learned what I needed to run the station.
Also, we were able to stay open because of the hybrid. I mean,
Yeah.
Terry whipped that together. We basically was within a week.
Yeah,
week or two.
it was seamless. We went from meeting in person to meeting in Zoom, and there was no transition time. There was no. It just happened. From my perspective, it was just night and day.
Trying to figure out that being on Zoom and not having the feedback to figure that out because you had to buy a special
Yes,
piece.
I did,
And
yeah.
Oh, the damper for the sound.
But I agree with Mike. I mean, I'll pop on the BCM on YouTube and
Yep.
listen on the car ride home or doing laundry or dishes.
No, and I see it as becoming so much more, and hopefully the next person will take it to the next level of, a weekly news show or
BCM
podcasting,
podcast.
or I mean, there's
That's
a
the
lot.
next.
that you
That's
can
the
do.
next
That's
step.
just the next thing, podcasts.
Yep.
There's only 10 million of them. I listened to about 4 of them. So
But I don't think, one of the things, and my husband gave me crap over this, by the way, that living within the budget was necessarily the best way to go at this point. Because, when I looked at salaries on that salaries table and realized the median was $60,000, I thought
61.4 is what I found.
61.4.
Yep. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
well, it's one of those things where it's like you live within your means as much as you can, and then you suddenly realize that by doing that you've actually constrained yourself because now you don't have the room to grow. You keep a budget this much for so long, and then all of a sudden you realize, I need 20, 30, 50% more, and then it looks to people like you're just like you're grabbing at it. You've exploded. All of a sudden you've gone from an asset to an expense.
Yep.
When
Should
realistically,
run up a
you
little
should have
bit
been
at a
going up, 5% every year for the past 10 years, and then it comes out the same, but it doesn't appear to be as bad. It's just like, and a lot of people fall in that trap,
Yep.
businesses included, where it's just
I think that just comes from your heart that you put into it and you wanting it to succeed. And, kudos for that, but we want to make sure that it continues. So James, you're going to rework these numbers? Okay.
and we will probably be discussing in a year from now about a warrant article to absorb BCM and make it an official department of the town. Because I think that's probably the best course of action to keep it sustainable for a long period of time.
Right. Well, and James and I had talked about, if it's the information hub, then maybe this is where the person who's going to do the calendar or the newsletter or,
Yeah, you start
that
talking
would
about
kind of
the
fit
town
in with
website
the
or what
information
all that
resources.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and, was it,
Envision,
Envision
and
Berwick
what they want to do,
and their plan.
and that's
That way
there's
it's all kind of housed in one area and everybody in that area would have the information and be able to do whatever it is that they do, whether it be the website or the TV or the streaming or the social media or whatever. So, but- all right. Well, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, that is the end of the budgets that we were reviewing for tonight. We're going to be back in a week to do a regular meeting with more budgets.
I do have a budgetary question, James.
Yep.
So, with all the information that you did send us on the non-union, there doesn't seem to be a consistent policy. Like, are you looking at a 5% increase? Is there specific people that you're looking to do market increases? Do you have the backup for that? I mean, because what you have is kind of all over the place. Where's my sheet? Like, some people are going to see,
Where we head?
yeah, some people are going to see like really tiny increases, and some people, what is that? Huh?
So the
Yeah, and then others are going to see significant, and I'm like, there's no,
are you are you looking at the column? I put in the fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 24.
right, and it says proposed. So,
So that includes the past three
so the
fiscal
reason why
have
I'm
to jump
asking is
over the
because
time.
it's over a 3-year period of time, and different people got different percentages.
over those past three fiscal years. Yeah, it's been
Right.
pretty.
So-
I think one of the reasons is some people are pretty close to the market rate, and then some of the larger increases you've seen are folks that were not even close. So those were
Market
market
So
adjustments.
those are individualized market adjustments that you have documentation for. So what I'm saying is, you got non-union staff. Are you gonna do 5% across the board for non-union staff? Or does each position, you just look at each position differently and do a market analysis every year?
For this budget, it was 7.5% for all department heads, and then 5% for non-union, non-department heads, with the exception of one staff.
You
Was
say 5% for,
non-union, non-department heads.
How many people fall into that category?
yeah,
Not a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just trying to think. Like,
why is the difference,
I would go for that reason would be I think the gap with those staff is less compared to the market. Obviously, I think I am very interested in developing a algorithm or a formula that we can plug in, comparing, I think, I've heard concerns about equity across town hall in terms of disparity between wages between staff in town hall. So that there's that consideration. There's also considerations of being where I've leaned. Most of my considerations and evaluations have been being competitive in the region. So the data that Betsy provided, it does compare us to municipalities that obviously have a much higher valuation.
right.
But that's also a year behind.
Right, but it'd be nice to see some data that looks at, comparable municipalities, the comparable tax bases. Could you start comparing us to Gunkwit and Kittery and Dover, New Hampshire? Come on, we don't have a tax base like that.
No. And Dover's not it. So we ended up
Let's talk about Elliott and the beach. beach towns.
I
And
was
that,
like, that's what I saw, going right out, Kennybunk. I'm like,
right.
You can't.
Falmouth, I saw that one on there, I'm like, come
Yeah,
on.
in that data, I took out the big outliers were Dover, Scarborough, and York. Those are the big. They're not included in the average or the median.
Yeah, Dover,
Yeah,
York,
yeah.
Scarborough.
But I can pull from.
Thank
I
you
know.
for not adding $12 million
Self-
of tourist money into the budget.
Into the, yeah.
South Berwick is our closest one. That's just above us, and then right below us. I don't recall in terms of valuation of population. Like, I want to say Standish is close. I think they have a higher population. Lyman. I think Lyman's
I should just say
pretty close in terms of
Lyman.
Lyman,
Waterboro,
Sandford,
maybe?
Waterboro, Acton.
Waterboro is pretty close to us as well. Some of that data is harder to find, but I can mine it. I reached out to South Berwick tonight. And I can, like I said, I think I would be very interested in even pulling this and working with Betsy to revise it into a policy that it feels less willy-nilly, especially in the context of when I first stepped in as town manager, but also my correspondence with Steve was, hey, these department heads are due for market adjustment.
But
And
some of them already got market adjustment. Because some of them, it says here, between the F-21 to the F-24, some of them got, 24.8, 22. There's a
yeah, I think that I would consider
over a
right.
period of time. It's a pretty big jump in the market rate. And the other thing I wanted to ask is there a policy, and maybe there isn't, I couldn't find it online, that says that anyone who's going to take a 10% or higher jump, is there any policy that has to be reviewed?
I don't believe so, but it's something that if that's what we want to have for a policy, there's nothing I'm aware of. I haven't seen anything
It doesn't mean
like
you
that.
can't do it, it just means that when you're going to clear that, a double-digit raise for any reason, whether it be a market or whether a position change or anything like that, then it has to be approved by the board, just simply for,
It's your
that's a
protection.
that's a huge jump.
Well, I
That's
mean, if
not-
it's already, but I mean, it's already budgeted. I mean, obviously we budgeted the money beforehand. It doesn't come back. I mean, very rarely does it ever come back where we're discussing in June, we have to reallocate money because we gave person a raise and now there's not enough money in the budget to pay them. So I mean, it's obviously money that we've already budgeted for.
You allocate for.
Yeah. So I mean,
So no market raises were given outside the budget period?
I believe. Let me see. I think we did that. We knew was in the budget. We did it for the library, but then it came back, and then it was I guess looked at that point of what the increase.
But it was an increase given after the budget had been set.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about, is those periods of times.
Yep.
Because things, and rightfully so, we budget once a year. Things can change in a year.
Right.
Absolutely, and so changes occur.
And I'm all for running things by the boards because the last thing I want is for any of you to be surprised by anything I do, And for
I don't think it's so much
It's-
for us being
no,
surprised. I think it's to protect you.
Yeah,
If
that's what I
somebody
mean.
says
Right.
Somebody
That's
doesn't
what I
run
mean,
over and
yeah.
say, "Well, how come James gave that one, and
Right,
not me?"
because these are so all over the place where, is this, the non-union, the unions have their budgeted, they're gonna get a 4% increase, gonna get a 5% increase, whatever it is. So do you look at non-union, you've split them apart, department leaders and hourly. So, I mean, obviously, 5% of a department leader's salary is probably gonna be a lot more than 5% of an hourly salary. But the percentage would be equal, I would think, as to do the 7.5 and the 5 is, unless there's some sort of a market thing in here, which then I wondered because some of these are way more than 7.5.
Yeah, because that Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, it doesn't match up. They're not all this, they're not all 7.5 and the hourly, and how come it's not the same for department leaders and hourly employees, the same percentage? It's not gonna be the same.
I don't have a good answer. I mean, I think we could probably go across the board so it's equitable in that.
And-
I can put that in, we can run that through and see what that looks like.
And granted, when we know looking back at 4 years, that means 3 of them weren't even under your watch. So, you know, and I think that's where Linda's trying to go. Like, okay, do we
Yes.
know why this happened?
So we don't have that information, so moving forward, you're looking at the budget, it's now your, proposed budget. There's no sink here, there's no, okay,
And you're saying as an added level of insulation to protect, people from running on raises and stuff like that. And it's like
right.
it's harder to run for a big increase when he can't approve it outright. Then it has to come before us.
Right, and again, it would happen if there was say Lisa is the assistant director, and she's making this amount of money, it was budgeted for that. Halfway through the year, the director leaves, you're gonna promote her, and the raise would effectively be 11%. It was not budgeted, so therefore, if for her position, you would come to say, hey, the reason, it's justifiable, the reason is, it's a position, a complete position change. Okay, makes sense. Someone else can't come back door and go, you know what? It's because you like Lisa better, and that's why she got 11% raise, and I only got a 5% raise as an hourly. And when you look at it 5, 7, 10 years, and someone's looking back on how you approved the budget, everything followed policy. That's all I'm saying.
And I see it as people, one person gets a boost in raise, and then everybody kind of starts clamoring for it. And then, whether James wants to or not, he still has to come before us to get it. And we can be the final arbiter of that situation.
Exactly, it's not that. And the other big thing is, for non-union employees, you can choose a different number, but I really think that the percentage should be equal. For department leaders and hourly, it's a percentage increase. You're not talking about same dollar amounts, but it's a percentage increase. If you want to change the numbers, fine, but I think to be fair, it should be the same percentage across the board for non-union.
But again,
Just my opinion.
No, what you said made sense. Like when you think about it from the perspective of they're already getting paid more, so the percentages, But who falls under that category of hourly wage non-union?
Transportation, public
transfer
Public
station.
works.
Transfer station, things like transfer station, part-time help,
Yep.
Library falls
library
under that.
stuff, the BCM.
Planning
That's what
admin
I understand.
assistant.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think
Rec
it should
admin
be the same
assistant.
percent.
Oh, yeah,
If you want
right.
to move the numbers around, fine, but I just think
And
that
nobody else in town hall, they're all union.
Yeah, they're
yeah,
all-
they're all union.
They're Teamsters.
Yeah, it's probably 5 or 6. Well,
So not a
10.
lot, but still.
No, yeah.
Just and the board can just agree. Just my opinion is it should be the same percentage for everybody.
It adds up to about 10 people, 15 people, but
Right.
still.
It's not a
Um,
huge number, but when you're that hourly person and you're looking at this, yeah, it makes a difference.
But also I'm saying that based on how many people it is,
Right.
the increase, if you keep it at 7.5% and you did it for everybody, the increase is not going to be monumental to the budget overall.
Right, and I'm not
because
advocating to go to 7.5. I'm just saying that, because you could go down to, 6% or 6.5 to everybody, and that would offset your number. Go down a little bit, go up a little bit, but just, my thing is, I think it should be, however you want to, those numbers, I just think it should be an equal percentage.
Yeah, we'll put together the BCM changes, the police changes, the staff changes, just see what the numbers look like, and road funding, and just kind of see what the bottom line looks like, and go from there.
Okay.
I think we do have just, if by offsetting the debt service figure, that helps quite a bit. To use some revenues to offset it. So like I said, I'll try to get an updated figures by Friday.
So, with everything, and not considering the changes and everything, if I'm correct, what you're saying is that you were trying to come in at a flat budget.
That's As much as possible, I think I'd be comfortable with us going with a 1.5%, and then just letting the tax levy limit increases about 3 to 5% every year. We had a decrease last year. I think it was because our revenue sharing went up so much that the levy is supposed to go down because you're supposed to use all that revenue to offset the taxes, which we've kept it flat for the past couple of years, if not reduced a few pennies.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, despite what I've heard online, which is usually wrong, the taxes for the past
I
3
think
to
it's
4
3 in a row.
years have been pretty stably the same, if not lower, and then about even. So it's,
People don't realize is the property value's gone up. The mill rate's gone
Yeah,
down 3 years in a row.
exactly.
So
Right.
the property
The
value in
property
town's
rates have
gone
gone
up.
up.
So
they
that's where.
they noticed that we revalued the town, and that now their taxes are more because their property has been properly valued, and so.
And property value, especially around downtown, is about to go up in the next couple of years.
I mean, if you just go based off real estate sales, my house increased like threefold in 7 years. It went from, it multiplied by 3. So, but luckily that's not what the taxes say. But still,
Yeah, don't say that too loud. Come look at your house again.
hey, they did it like 2 years ago. They can't come back again.
Hopefully,
You
we
could
do
have
things
the door
right.
in the morning.
Start getting business in, and that'll help offset it too. So
Yes, that's.
That's hopefully, yeah.
that's.
I mean, they're out there right now building the apartments and stuff, right? And that's what they're building over there.
yeah, it's 10. I think it's 10 one-bedroom units and 2 commercial units. The first floor will be 2 smaller commercial units and then 2 one-bedroom apartments, and then the second and third floor are 4 one-bedroom apartments each.
Well, they're really they're picking up the pace over there, is what it looks like to
gonna
me.
say it's-
So
Yeah, they'll get ready on a coffee shop drive-through. They're going to start building into this year, and then I think another 12 or 16 residential units along Sullivan
there's supposed to
Street.
be a bank in there too soon, right?
Yeah, they haven't found a tenant yet for it, so they're kind of punting it until they find one.
Atlantic keeps opening up places. Ask them.
So they got some businesses lined up to go into space?
They have all kinds of businesses. They pretty much have plans to fill up this
Existing building.
existing building. Some good tenants, and then I heard they even have tenants lined up for future phasing. So phase 4, I think, is their Main Street. I heard they even have some tenants lined up, planned for that. So that's encouraging. All different kinds. I know restaurants coming down. I mean, I don't think they're talking to a restaurant, but it's inevitable that a restaurant will be a component of the downtown.
I keep talking to them about bowling alleys.
I think the bowling alley is coming too. I think that's
You mean 10-pin, not candle pin, right?
I don't care what.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're
10 pin. Yeah, maybe one candle. Throw in one candle pin.
Maybe just regular sized balls. I mean, I used to go to the Bowl-O-Rama in Stanford, and I grew up with the freaking ball, just small ones, and didn't even know you could get the big ones for a while. Completely off topic. When are we expecting the playground equipment to go into the memorial field stuff?
The bid is out now, so we're getting bids, and then we'll pick a company, and then I think the lead time's about, I don't know off the top of my head, I think it's a couple months lead time, 2 or 3 months lead time.
I think I heard 10 weeks or something. Yeah.
Yeah, 10. I think at 10 to 12 is pretty standard. We have a little bit of site work we need to do with irrigation, but we think we might have some good news there, where it might be less of a lift than we initially thought to deal with some of the irrigation and site work there to make room for it.
How's electrical doing up there? Sorry, can of worms.
Yep.
Yeah, I just know that we have plans to get those. We have a stack of LED lights that we have purchased already to get those up. But I think we're okay. Otherwise, electrical. I think we have what we need.
Got another off-topic thing. Have we heard any comments or anything, any feedback from the Volkswagen guy that bought the fire station? I'm
I-
just curious. I drove by, I saw one outside, and this is the first time I've seen one outside.
I saw someone notice that, yeah, they're supposed to go, oh, who's got a Beetle out there? But
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a nice, very nice guy. I've heard a little bit from the neighbors. They just say he's a good neighbor, and I know he's talking with a local artist about potentially using the space for some sort of art purposes.
Yeah.
It may need some work for ADA accessibility, but Mike from the beginning has indicated a willingness to work with the community, whether it's some form of adult education or thrift shop or something. He's been amenable to any idea. It's
Yeah,
just
I
a
remember
matter
him
of
saying that. I hadn't seen or heard anything since he
Since I bought it.
I'm sure he'll pop in one of these days to
Car
give us an update.
car
When it
show.
gets nicer
Yeah,
weather,
yeah.
we'll start seeing them all floating around.
Yeah, I've seen him over there working inside a few times,
Oh, have you?
but I haven't talked to him.
I mean, we didn't close until basally.
Anybody know
fall,
how many
so-
cars he's got in there right now?
I don't know. I haven't looked that
Yeah,
close.
we haven't gone in there and peeked
Haven't
in.
peeked in the window yet?
Oh, I haven't.
Second public comment. No members of the public want to come forward?
Just want to, as of right now, we're still planning on the meeting on Thursday evening, correct?
I imagine
Depending
it
on the weather?
sounds like the snow's going to be Wednesday night, heavy into Thursday morning. So my thought was for town hall we might open late, but obviously the weather can either be
Completely miss us or destroy us. As
or just be
usual.
down.
I know how hard it's going to be to reschedule something, soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Is the problem is
could just take the whole
I'm all for trying to hold
You
it
can just
still.
take the whole binder.
I
can.
think if you
Gotta keep
listen
on
to
collecting,
the
like,
forecasters talk
I
about
think
a
she just moved
period
around
in the
because we had other
afternoon where
things
it's
to
going
go
to take
film. No, you
off. So
I
it
took
may
mine
give
home
us
last
time
year,
to
and then
leave.
you just had to bring it back.
And we can get the
Time to
word
go
out
with the
that
budgets,
if
because
folks
you
aren't
keep
comfortable
reminding
driving, they can zoom in.
Right.
But you can keep bring it home. Look at it all you
I
want.
was looking to try to find the old budgets online, so I had something to compare to.
That's why I keep my old budget. I turn it in the year after.
Classic. All right, so I'll close second public comment. Any further discussion on agenda items?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night.